Hey there, it's Chanel here from Canadian Pixie Dust with another video about the differences between Disneyland and Disney World. So as you know, we went on our first trip to Disneyland for our 1-year anniversary to celebrate and to check out the original Disney park, which has been something that's been on my bucket list for a very long time. So I did post that video of the entrance and going into Disneyland and I said that I was going to come back to you with this video about the other things that we found different between Disneyland and Disney World. So that being said, we are a Disney World family for the most part. We live closer to Florida. It's a shorter trip for us. It's a drive. It's about a 24-hour drive or a quick plane ride down. So we have only ever visited Disney World. So we're really used to how Disney World works, the way things are booked, all of that jazz. So the one big thing that we noticed right off the hop booking between Disneyland and Disney World is Disney World, you book things way in advance. So dining is booked 180 days in advance if you're staying on site. Fast Pass is up to 60 days in advance if you're booking and you're staying on site. Whereas we found with Disneyland, there wasn't the advanced booking that you needed to do the same way. So dining was booked 60 days out, and a lot of the park hours didn't appear until like 4 to 6 weeks out, which is so odd when you're used to Disney World and booking things so far in advance. There was no parade times or show times and that sort of stuff. Kind of were a little like freaked out there for a little bit while we were booking, trying to get things situated and realizing we just needed to take a deep breath and be patient and wait. Still had no problems booking our dining reservations. We got the Fantasmic dinner package. Now that we booked Blue Bayou at 60 days out, and then Fantasmic showed up another 2 or 3 weeks later. It was quite a ways later, and we were able to book that, no problem again. Highly recommend it. Great seating for Fantasmic, and the food was amazing at Blue Bayou. And hey, it's a ride, a restaurant where the ride goes right through it. So that was really cool in itself. So that was one of the big differences right off the hop we noticed between the two parks. Then actually getting to the parks, that big one, like I posted the video of, is that entrance of when we got to Disneyland, there was this small drop-off area. Everybody went through the same security checkout. You went Disneyland, Disney California Adventures, Disney Springs down the middle. It was really funny and we loved it. It was great to be able to kind of go between the places really easily. If you're a park hopper fan, easy to park hop, really easy, literally out one gate and into the next one. Whereas Disney World is so big, you have to take transportation between the parks. And we don't mind. The transportation system at Disney World is amazing. So it's not a big deal to get from park to park if you want to go park hopping in a day. And we love to park hop in Disney World. We didn't in Disneyland, surprisingly, but we definitely, when we go to Disney World, we always park hop. So the Disneyland, as I said, is much closer in proximity to each other, and we found that the parks were smaller than the parks in Disney World. Now, the Disneyland park is what they created the Disney Magic Kingdom park off of. So we did find it really easy to get around the Disneyland park because it was very similar in the way that it was set up. Disney World's Magic Kingdom is definitely bigger, but it has a very similar setup. You go in the main gates, under the train station, down Main Street, there's the hub, all the lands come off of it, same as Disney World, same thing. Now there's one of your big differences. If you are used to the giant Magic Kingdom castle at Disney World, the Disneyland castle is teeny tiny, but it is so cute and so adorable and so beautiful. So yes, they are very different, but they both have their own kind of cuteness and majesticness and all that good stuff. Who doesn't love a castle? So we did find it really easy to get around Disneyland. We also found really easy, the train system in Disneyland made it super easy to get around the park. And we definitely used it on more than one occasion to get from one side of the park to the other because it was just so easy to use. The train stations were fairly close together. You waited maybe about 5 minutes tops for a train, and it definitely got you around the park with a lot more ease. We've never found that at Disney World, although we love the train. We haven't found that same at Disney World's Magic Kingdom. The other thing is there's a lot of similar rides between the two parks, which is great. We got to go on some of those old favorites that we love at Disney World and got to see the difference in Disneyland. I have to admit that Disneyland's dark rides are done just a little bit better. We found like Peter Pan, for example, was much darker, and you didn't notice the walls and stuff kind of the same way that you did in the Disney World one. We also loved the New Orleans section in Disneyland that Disney World doesn't have. We really fell in love with that section of the park. We really thought it was really beautiful. The food in that area was amazing. We loved the music that was playing in that area. And of course, one of my favorite rides, the Haunted Mansion, was in that area. And the house for Haunted Mansion really looks kind of like a New Orleans mansion, which, you know, fit right in with everything. We really liked the Peter Pan ride in Disneyland better than Disney World. They're very, very similar, don't get me wrong, but there was a few little things in the Disneyland one that we really liked. The other thing is we really liked that you kind of go through the bayou and then you go down 2 waterfalls and into this other land where the Pirates ride is. Now, we know the secret that those 2 waterfalls are actually taking you into the building that houses the ride. So you're going under the berm for the train station, like the train track that goes around the park, and into that building that houses the actual ride. That's why you go down those 2 waterfalls and then up that big ramp at the end, taking you back into the building that the Pirates ride is at. One of the other things that I noticed is a lot of the queues in Disneyland are outdoors versus indoors. I found that in Disney World, a lot of the newer rides, especially the queues, are much longer inside, and they're air conditioned, which is fantastic, which they weren't. Not that that was a pro or a con, but I just noticed that difference between the 2 parks. Ride-wise too, we got to ride on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which I used to ride as a kid, so that was kind of nostalgic and kind of fun to do that. And then there's a few rides in Disneyland that we don't have in Disney World, the Matterhorn, Indiana Jones, so those were cool to experience as well. Everybody says there's a big difference between the small worlds, but I didn't really notice other than the facade. The facade for Disney's in Disneyland for a small world is spectacular, and it is so beautiful to see it all lit up. We were really lucky that the Christmas layover was still up in it, so we got to see all those Christmas lights, and it was so beautiful. But the actual ride inside, I didn't notice a huge difference between the 2 parks. Okay, so the other things that we found different, one of the big ones for us was the lack of PhotoPass photographers. There seemed to be not a ton, which we know it was partially the time of the year because it is a low season, although it was a long weekend. But in Magic Kingdom and Disney World, we noticed that in general, there seemed to be a lot more PhotoPass photographers, especially at any of the character meetups. There tended to be a PhotoPass photographer there, where we didn't find that in Disneyland, whether that was California Adventures or in Disneyland Park. We just didn't find as many PhotoPass photographers, and we love the PhotoPass photographers. We absolutely adore them. They take the most amazing pictures. We've had some of the sweetest photos of our family and our trips, just my husband and I. We love the magic shots. That is something really important to us. So in Disney World, that PhotoPass is $169, and that gives you all your pictures for your trip. Now, we got married in Disney last year, a year ago, and we linked all the families that came with us to our PhotoPass, so we had all of us together on one PhotoPass and shared those photos with all of our guests. That was part of our gift to them to say thank you for coming. We always get it. Even some of our shorter trips, my husband and I did my 40th birthday. We were only there for, I think, 4 days, maybe 5. We still ended up with, I think, close to 400 pictures from the PhotoPass photographers. So that $169 was totally worth it every single time for us. And it's an important part for us. We love photos. We have our family. We love the memories that are captured of our trips. And we love those magic shots. They are hilarious. I posted some on my Instagram today from our trip from our wedding. So you can go check those out. In Disneyland, they do Max Pass. So Max Pass is a combination. You get your Fast Passes as well as your Photo Pass all in this one-time fee, or sorry, daily fee. So it's $10 a day per person, and you need to have your whole party connected to it for the Fast Pass part of it. For Max Pass, for the photos, you don't. So that is one of the tricks, is that if you want just your photos, one person just has to have it, and that's the person's ID that you use for your photos to connect them all. Then you get all your photos for that $10 a day. But to be able to use the Fast Pass part of that system, you actually have to have each member of your party. So for us, we're a family of 5. So that's an additional $50 a day for Fast Passes. And that seems like a lot for us. Even for the photos, to have that, it adds up really quick to that $169. I think for us, had we brought the kids with us to Disneyland, I don't know that we would have done Max Pass for the whole family. I think we would have just added it onto one ticket to be able to get all of our photos. That being said, as a couple, it was totally worth it. I loved the Fast Pass system. It made it super easy to use and to get on rides and to book and all that good stuff. So in Disney World, they have Fast Pass Plus. You can book 3 Fast Passes per day, as early as 60 days out if you're staying on site, 30 days out if you're not staying on site. They have it a kind of a tiered system, so there's certain rides that you can only have tier 1, you can only have 1 Fast Pass from, and tier 2, you can have multiple Fast Passes from. Great system, we love booking it out, it works for us, it's fantastic. You can do that from your phone, the My Disney Experience app, your computer, or when you get to the parks, there's kiosks there as well. Now, the trick with that one is a lot of people book their Fast Passes ahead of time, so it can be hard sometimes to get a Fast Pass for something that you really want one for because they're all gone for the day. With the Max Pass Plus system in Disneyland, you can't book Fast Passes until you are actually in the park for the day. So once you get through those front gates, you can pop open your My Disney Experience app, the Disneyland version, and you can start booking your Fast Passes for the day. When you click on your Fast Passes, it's going to bring up the rides and the different return times for them. You can book it. Then once you go to that ride and use your Fast Pass while you're in the queue for that ride, maybe even before you get on that ride, you can book your next Fast Pass. So on our first day there, we were there on a Friday. It was a little bit quieter, even though it was a long weekend. We did do a tour in the morning, but using the Fast Pass system and paying attention to wait times, again, using that My Disney Experience app, it is fantastic when you are in the parks. We were able to get on most of the big rides that day without too much wait time. The other thing that Disney has, which is fantastic, they have it in both parks, it's great, is the Disney Play app, which is entertainment in the lineup. You can get on the Wi-Fi for the park and play games in line. You can get experience badges, that sort of stuff. We had lots of fun with it. So the last big difference that we found between the two parks is just magic bands. We love our magic bands. It's super easy. That's your photo pass. You can link a credit card for buying your, purchasing your meals or souvenirs in the park. That's your key for your room, everything, your ticket into the park. So when you go into the gates at Disney World, you scan your magic band, you do your thumbprint, and that's how they kind of validate your ticket. In Disneyland, it is your paper ticket, and then they take a picture of you. And then you use that paper ticket throughout the park to do your Fast Passes, that sort of thing. I love the Magic Band system because it's really easy. You just wear it on your wrist. You don't have to carry credit cards with you or a wallet or anything. We usually carry a little bit of cash, and that's about it. We use our Magic Band for most of our trip, which is fantastic. I think that's about it. Those were like the big differences that we noticed. Oh, I guess the only other thing we really noticed was in Disneyland, there seemed to be a lot more locals. We were told on one of our tours that about 75% of the park on any given day is annual pass holders, people that are local. They won't come for a lot of time. They might just come for the afternoon. So definitely a big tip if you are headed to Disneyland, go for rope drop. It's really quiet in the mornings. We didn't find that it started to get busy until about noon most days. And we also did notice just kind of more teenagers, groups of teenagers, that sort of thing, or people that were like, oh, we've had enough of the crowds today, we're just gonna get out of here, or let's go to the other park. So just, we heard a little bit of banter. Not that it was a huge difference, but definitely at Disney World, we find a lot more people are tourists and a lot more chatty, that sort of thing, which we didn't find quite as much of with the staff or with the other guests there, because we're kind of chatty. We like to talk to people while we're around. It's a great way to find out lots of things about the park. I definitely always recommend talking to the cast members. They have a wealth of information. We always ask them their favorite ride, their favorite restaurants, that sort of stuff. You'll get some great tips on places to eat and things to do. And we usually chat with people in line as well, see where they're from, that sort of thing, because it can get boring waiting for rides sometimes. So there's my video. There's kind of our differences that we found between Disneyland and Disney World. We will definitely head back to Disneyland at some point in time. We did love it. We did love seeing that original park, and we will go back. But next trip is off to Disney World again. We are so excited. The countdown is on. We're in the 150-day mark, and we can't wait.